down. That's the target agent.
Activating decoy.
Incoming backup request. Heavily armored hostile detected.
You just need to destroy the magnetic core. This is fine.
High-risk target detected. System back online. Immediate medical assistance needed. Rogue seeker mine detected. Hostile seeker mine detected. Evacuate the facility. 5 minutes to lockdown. System malfunctioning. System restored. An agent needs assistance. Rogue assault turret detected. Hostile assault turret detected. System curtailed. System back online.
Shoot off a player's support until you're ready to go.
Hey everyone, RogueGold here, and today I've got a question for all of you. Have you ever had that moment where the light bulb just pops into your head, you're trying to figure out the answer to some sort of problem, and all of a sudden the solution just comes to you and you feel that overwhelming sense of accomplishment? That's exactly how this build has felt to me recently in the Division 2. For the longest time now, I've had these two objectives when it comes to builds. I wanted to make something with the Shocker Punch holster that got added with the Year 5 Season 1 update, as I hadn't really incorporated it into any of my other loadouts yet. And for the longest time, I've been wanting to make something good with Negotiator's Dilemma. Obviously, there are a lot of really good templates for that gear set out there, although it just doesn't really fit into my usual playstyle the way that something like Striker or Heartbreaker would. And so I just hadn't gotten around to it. And then it dawned on me, why not put the two together? And that's exactly what you're seeing in this background gameplay right now. Due to the Shocker Punch's functionality of being able to lock down groups of enemies in one spot, and due to Negotiator Dilemma's multi-shot properties, it just works together super well because you can lock down enemies with all of this shock stuff that you're doing with the build, and then just paint a few ads and then focus on one, and you're taking out 3 at once. It's phenomenal. I love it. And as you're seeing in the gameplay, it works super well on heroic control points, challenging countdown, even heroic countdown. It's fantastic. So let's get to the breakdown so I can show you what's going on with it. All right, so here's the build in its full glory. It's just so awesome for me to see these negotiator pieces on because like I've said, I have been trying to make a build with this that I've liked for quite a while, and this is the one that's it, so it's really cool. And I was originally going to make something with like full dedicated crit damage, like maybe using some improvised pieces, things like that. But because negotiators lean so heavily into crit, you can still get over 200% crit damage with the likes of the Elmos, and it's awesome. So let's get into it. So like I said, for the primary, we're using the St. Elmo's engine, the new exotic AR that got added with Year 5 Season 1. No huge surprise here. This is not only a really good gun in and of itself, it's got really great crit mods, but it is also how you unlock the full power of the Shocker Punch, which like I said is one of the core tenets of this build, so we'll get to that in just a moment, but we have that on here. Of course, that's giving us the 20% crit chance and damage, so if I jump over to the stats here, at base, I have 57% crit chance and 167, almost 168% crit damage, and with the Negotiator's buff, where you can get 2% crit damage per kill up to 20, that pushes us over 200% when we're in combat and in encounters like Countdown or things like that. So it's really phenomenal, does tons of damage as you saw in the gameplay. It's really, really sweet. Moving on for your secondary and sidearm, totally up to you. I'm using the Mop just because why not? It's a decent gun, gives you some of the nice properties. And I've got the Orbit as my sidearm, but like I said, use whatever you want on those. Let's move on to the gear. We have Negotiator's Dilemma. Like I've been talking about, the 2 pieces, 15% crit chance, 3 piece, 20% crit damage. And if you don't know what the basic gist of the set is, it has multi-shot properties, which is something that you see in various MMOs and games like that. Basically, you can mark up to 3 targets, and when you hit one of the targets, it shares any critical hit damage that you deal to those other targets. And so by investing so much into crit, it means that you're able to almost deal the same amount of damage from one target to another. Obviously, non-crits will not count, but any crits do, and you saw in the gameplay, like it just shares a ton of damage, and you're able to take down all of these targets at once, especially when they're shocked, and that's really, really strong. So for the mask specifically, we have weapon damage there, crit damage rolled with a crit damage mod. For the chest piece, we have 1 piece of Fenris, which is giving us that 10% AR damage. I don't think the Negotiator's vest talent is worth it. It increases the marks from 3 to 5, but I think the backpack is way more worth it, and you get more damage by using a chest talent, so that's the direction that I decided to go. On here, we have weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage with another crit damage mod, and obliterate. Now, it shouldn't take too much to figure out why we are using obliterate. We are speccing into crit stuff, and obviously that is what obliterate deals with, and when you're in circumstances like you're still trying to build up to the 200% crit damage in Countdown and whatnot, obliterate just spikes your damage in those moment-to-moment gameplay scenarios, so it's really strong. Highly recommend it, but of course, try out other stuff like Unbreakable if you want the Negotiator chest piece, totally up to you. Moving on, we get to the other star of the show here, the Shocker Punch holster. If you don't know what this does, basically you get stacking bonuses depending on all these different things you're using. So if you're using it along with the St. Elmo's engine and a shield, like we'll go over in a moment, then you get to basically melee enemies with the shield out, and it will shock them and anyone else within a 5-meter radius on a 15-second cooldown. Super strong, super good with negotiators, like I've been saying, because you can kind of paint the targets really quickly and then just focus on one, and you'll be dealing damage to all 3. So it's super strong in that regard, and it's been a lot of fun. Obviously, it comes with the static bonuses of the armor, explosive resistance, and hazard, so that's what I've got on there. Moving on to the backpack, we've got another piece of negotiators, like we've already gone over what the the talents of the overall set are there. On here we have weapon damage, crit chance mod, and then the talent, the amplification talent that you get for using the backpack is critical measures, which takes the crit damage that is shared between the other marks from 60 to 100%. I think this is totally worthwhile, especially for what we're going for with this build in those tight clusters that we really want to be dealing that damage to. This is super good, so I highly recommend that. Moving on to the gloves, another piece of negotiators, weapon damage, crit damage on there, and lastly for the knee pads, last piece of negotiators with another roll of weapon damage and crit damage. Talking about the skills, let's get to the Firewall Shield in just a moment. I've got the Revive 5 just because I like how it fits my playstyle, but I am using Firewall as the specialization. Now, I typically use Gunner for these types of run and gun builds and playstyles because it gives you a lot of really great bonuses that just fit in well with how that generally plays out. But because we have to use a shield to unlock the full functionality of the Shocker Punch, I figured it would be really good to run the Striker Shield that you get from Firewall, because for every enemy that's in front of us, you can see right there, we get that extra 11% damage. So in those circumstances where you've shocked a crowd, you're trying to get the Negotiator's marks on them and get the multi-shot going, and you get 11% bonus damage for every enemy that's within your cone, that's a ton of damage. It's a super good synergy. I've really liked it so far, so certainly feel free to try it out, or Gunner if you like. But either way, if you want to unlock that full functionality, you're either going to have to use this or the regular Crusader Shield, so use whichever one you prefer. But like I said, the Striker has worked really well for me. All right, everybody, and that is the build. I very much hope you enjoyed. I've been having a ton of fun running the set over the past few days. Honestly, it's kind of filled the role of what I used to use my Striker set for. I'm obviously still going to use that quite a lot, but this kind of fulfills a new playstyle and new utility in my builds and loadouts that I previously didn't have. So I've been enjoying it a lot. It's super strong, and I hope you will as well. Let me know any of your thoughts, comments, or questions about the build, anything you would change up. Have you already tried something similar to this? Let me know all of it down below. And that's going to do it for me today, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay safe. I'll see you in the next one. RogueGold. Ow.